The 2-week pay period, invented in 1938 and still making us wait until daily pay, where everyone can access their money on demand. This is the future of pay. Learn more at dailypay.com. Transfer fee may apply.
Hello, Holly.
Hello, Dave.
What is going on with you today on the What Difference Does It Make podcast?
It is going to be a good time today with Alison Ellwood, our guest. Did you get that Culture Club reference?
I did not. You're kissing to be clever, I guess, is something's happening there. I don't know. What is good time?
Time, because time is precious. Do you know the Culture Club song? Time?
Okay.
Oh,
Dave. Time won't give me time. I get it. I know the song. I don't know the good time.
Okay. I was reaching.
It's a miracle every single day on the podcast that we put one out each and every week. By the way, we're talking to Alison Ellwood today. She directed the documentary that is out now on Culture Club. And what's the name of this film?
The name of it is Boy George and Culture Club.
Boy George and Culture Club, which is the way the band wanted it, I'm sure. Holly and I watched it this week, and it is just a thrill. As I'm going to tell Alison, it was just like a shock to my system when this came on, and the joy that it immediately brought to my face when I see them performing in concert. I had no idea how much I wanted this.
It's music, so it brings joy to your whole body, not just to your face. We can see it on your face, right? And they do. Culture Club really does bring the joy. And we should also mention that we've spoken with Alison before when she released the Laurel Canyon documentary. She is a brilliant documentarian, and I really, really enjoy her films.
Yes, I'm looking forward to talking to her again. She has done a number of documentaries, most famously with the Go-Go's and Cyndi Lauper, who are in the Rock Hall now. So we'll talk about that a little bit, see if she's got some sort of mojo that can get Culture Club into the Rock Hall. I've got a lot of things to talk about, so we should get into the studio shortly after you tell us all about social media.
Check us out on social media at WDDIM Podcast, where you will find some clips from this interview, and on YouTube at What Difference Does It Make Podcast.
Let's get into it. I look forward to talking to Alison again. Two-timer. I love her. So this is Alison Ellwood. She directed a movie about Culture Club. It's called Boy George and Culture Club. And now she is on the What Difference Does It Make podcast.
This is great. Boy George and Culture Club. How did you come to it, or did it come to you?
I was a little bit of both. We interviewed George for the Cyndi Lauper film. And in doing so, we was like, oh, wait, we should make a film about Culture Club. This is crazy. And George and his manager got on board, and then we got Mikey and Roy on board, and John took the most convincing, but eventually he was on board as well, thankfully.
So the other George was on right away. He was in?
Yeah, I mean, there was, obviously a little back and forth, but sure, they wanted to make a film, which was great. I mean, I was a big fan of the music, and it's such a great story. And we wanted just to keep the film just to the four of them and the telling of their story, make it very intimately theirs, which I thought was the right call for this film.
Not all Culture Club members are in Culture Club right now. Was there some hesitancy at first, or is this the right time to tell the Culture Club story? How far do we want to go in this story? What were the discussions that were going on about how much and what we can and cannot put in?
There were really no restrictions on us in that respect. We wanted it to end where the film ends, because a lot of it after that was getting back together, breaking up, back together. I mean, they'll say, as they say in the film, that they never actually broke up. They just sort of paused a whole bunch of times. And then John more recently paused more permanently, it seems. But they still talk once in a while with John getting together with them. But Mikey, Roy, and George continue to play together to this day. In fact, they're on tour this summer. And hopefully, I hope one day John will join them again.
None of them were on camera together for the interview portions. Correct. None of them were on camera together.
To be able to tell their own story without feeling filtered by other people sitting there listening to them. They each got to tell their story, and sometimes their stories conflicted, and most of the time they aligned. And thankfully, because they were all so incredibly honest. I mean, I was worried that John was going to be the hardest to kind of pull out because it's still so raw and sensitive for him, as it is for all of them. But right out of the gate, he just was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go for it. And they all sort of seemed to have that attitude. So that was great.
This seems to be the Alison Ellwood method of just let's keep everyone separate and let's see if these stories match. Is that the way you want to do, like you tend to do documentaries? Is that kind of your method?
It's not to keep them separate. I mean, like in the Go-Go's, I interviewed them all separately, but we had a couple of big scenes with them all together at the end. That wasn't going to be possible with Culture Club. We tried to get them to do a show together, and it just wasn't going to happen for a number of reasons. But again, it's just people will tell their story from their perspective, I think, more readily if they're not surrounded by other people who might roll their eyes or argue or whatever. It's just their opportunity to tell it from their side.
I appreciate that because you're right. I think it's presumed fans want to see the band members together.
Yeah.
I think it's more interesting to have them feel comfortable telling their individual stories.
Yeah, and we see the band together through the brilliant archive that our archival producers, Kate and Mike Griffith, were able to obtain for us, which was just hundreds of hours of material. The hardest thing in this film was choosing what not to include.
I was wondering about the archive, not just the Culture Club archives, but you used a lot of footage. You used like Bowie footage. You used other footage of other artists. Were those as easy/difficult to acquire?
It was all a big mix of stuff. I mean, it's all expensive to acquire, I'll tell you that. Thankfully, they came through with the extra archival budget on this because it's just getting more and more expensive to do that, unfortunately. But, some of the stuff obviously is hard to find, but some of it's out there. But we wanted to show they didn't emerge out of a bubble. There was a whole scene going on that they brought their unique influences and personalities in to create something unique of their own.
Honestly, when I was like Culture Club, I love their songs when they first became a band, and that was all fun. I was in immediately with the concert footage, the Church of the Poison Mind. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. I had never seen Culture Club in concert before, but just to see the joy that was going on and both in the audience and on stage, I was like, oh my God, I forgot what the impact was of Culture Club. Can you kind of touch on what this mania that people might have forgotten about?
I mean, it really is crazy. I mean, I think they're like the only band that's reached that level of Beatlemania almost. I mean, in this country, but especially in Australia and in Canada, I mean, literally roadways would be blocked and people would miss flights because there'd be so many thousands of fans converging to see them just drive by or something. I mean, it was really kind of incredible. And I'd forgotten how big a deal they were. I'd also, I think a lot of people, what I hope people get from this is we all remember the big, huge hits, but there's so much beautiful music that they did. Like Church of the Poison Mind, it wasn't as big a hit as Karma Chameleon, but I think it's like one of their most brilliant, beautiful songs. And we began with it because it's just so rocking, especially when you get Helen Terry out there mixing with George. It's just like, wow.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about Helen Terry, because watching it on stage, like, wow, she is actually looks like a member of Culture Club. And I don't even know where in the world is Helen. Did you want to bring her into the conversation at all? Was that a discussion?
We certainly talked about it, but again, we wanted it to be the 4 core members, and 3 of the 4, well, no, actually, George was the one who really wanted Helen to be in the band and actually a member, and the others like, no, I mean, this is our band. We created this. So I think it made sense that she wasn't in the band per se, but I wanted it to just be a very intimate perspective from their point of view. But sure, we talked about it. It would have been great to get her, but it was more important for us to get John, and he was holding out till kind of late in the game. So,
is that why you made it so dramatic as he entered? Like, let's light the back, let's light it.
That was a fun behind the scenes production accident. We were setting up the shot, and that light came from the makeup room. We were setting up the shot. I was looking at the screens, and someone opened that door. And I was like, oh my God, that's how he's got to come in. And don't tell John he can get in this room any other way than that door. So we blocked off the other entrance, and we blocked it off with a book that said, teach your daughter about economics. And Trevor Burney, the producer, his daughter, Mia, was one of our associate producer on the project, and he had flown in, and he's a little hard of hearing to begin with, definitely hard of hearing when he's just off a plane. And he sees this door blocked with this book saying, teach your daughter about economics. And he's yelling, why do I need to teach my daughter about economics? Pulling the book out, opening the door. We're like, close the door, stop. It was nutty. That's a behind the scenes moment, though. That happened. And then my DP shot it in slow motion, which was even more brilliant. So
happy accidents. I love those.
Happy accidents. Yeah.
Okay. Talk about entrances. The start with George. It makes you a little uncomfortable. Is he going to be contentious during the course of the whole film?
I mean, it was just a funny moment. My editor, Paul Carl, my editor, put that in. And I'm like, oh, God, I don't know if we should start with that. And then I was like, you know what? It's so funny. He was a little testy at times, but, it's tough for those guys to sit and tell the story. One, they've told it a bunch of times. Secondly, my big thing with these artists, as I always say, it's a mutual trust. Sure, you have to trust me to tell your story honestly, but I also have to trust you to tell your story honestly. I don't want to make hagiography. I also don't want to make it all salacious and all of that. I want to tell an honest story, and I want it to be really based in the music and where the music comes from and the personalities that create that music. So yeah, it was a little testy at the beginning, but that was fine.
Now, he mentions firing the previous directors. Was that something?
The joke with Trevor, the producer, had stood in for me for a little bit when I had a stomach issue the previous session. So George was making a joke. Trevor, he looked around and Trevor's standing right there. He's just making fun of Trevor.
Even in those early interviews, just so comfortable in who he is. And I think that comes across just like everyone else had hangups about his looks and, the way he presents himself, but he seems, even from those photos from when he was a kid, like he always seemed like confident in, this is who I am and you have to deal with it. I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the moment where Carson says, I'm from the Midwest. If you were my kid, I wouldn't know how to handle you. And he goes, what's to handle? What was lovely for me to find out about George's childhood was that his parents were actually very accepting of him at an early age, because he was dressing up like that at 6, 7, 8 years old.
Whatever we or the general public thought of his appearance at the time, we obviously embraced him. This was always him, and we embraced him. And then we seemed to go through a period where we were not embracing that, but we still always embraced him.
Yeah.
So
no, it's very authentic to who he is. It's not an act. I mean, I've never seen him without makeup and everything now. Yeah. I'm sure there are moments where he has been without all of that, but it's authentic to who he is for sure.
It was kind of like back to the Clinton years, don't ask, don't tell. Right. Oh yeah, we accept Boy George, but just don't say out loud what you are. I don't know, just don't talk about your sexual orientation at all. We just want to accept you as an eccentric, and that's it. And then when he did, at this MTV Awards, mention him being a drag queen, all hell broke loose. Well, I remember him saying that, but I don't remember people being up in arms, but I guess that was certainly the case.
It was a very weird backlash because, as George says in the film, I believe it's to Letterman, I mean, you guys had Liberace, and I really all that different, and nobody said anything about Liberace. It was weird, the backlash that happened, and I think it stung the band because everybody was going. And then even, John tells the story in the film that there'd be these people out protesting with the stick figures of the two men together saying, oh, no, we don't like that, but oh, yeah, we love Culture Club, we're going to the show. I mean, it's just odd.
How do you reconcile that, right?
But how do you reconcile all the hatred in the first place? I don't get it at all. It's just so foreign and bizarre.
That's true. People tried to ask him, are you male, female? Do you like men, women? He did get a little testy about it sometimes. But his point being, what does it matter?
Well, John denied it for years, too. I mean, I had forgotten this, but when they did the Behind the Music series, John outright denied that they were together. Look, there's been a lot of things have gotten better, at least in the circles that we all float around in for tour. But there's also such a backlash right now, like as George says in the film. It's like now it's the fans trying to have their moment to say this is their moment of validation, and they're being ripped apart.
We are discussing Culture Club and Boy George and all that went on in that world back in the 80s. Now it's time to back it up into some commercials. Today's episode is sponsored by something a little different for us, but very near and dear to our hearts. This is a company called Essilor, and they provide eyeglass lenses for children, like very young children. Do you ever watch those videos where a child puts on glasses for the first time and kind of sees the world for the first time clearly? It's the best.
So these are really interesting and great for kids because they look like regular glasses, but they're part of a more thoughtful approach to managing myopia, which is nearsightedness, which you and I both have.
It happened to me in the third grade. I didn't know what I couldn't see because what am I going off of? But I took a test at school and it became apparent that I'm going to need glasses. And so I can't even imagine for a child who can't speak and yet just trying to understand that they can't see what they should be seeing. So because you're listening to our podcast, you're Gen X generation, you've got possibly grandchildren now, just encourage children to get an eye test. Where should people go to find out more about myopia and what they can do to check their young children?
So you can visit Essilor.com and you can read more about the lenses, the Stellest lenses and myopia. You can find an Essilor expert, eye care professional at Essilor.com, ESSILOR.com. I wish I had this when I was young.
On July 16th, The Hawk lands on Netflix. From the mind of Will Ferrell.
Oh, mama, I'm back!
Comes a new original series.
Get ready, get ready. That's it. Did I stutter?
When an iconic pro golfer
Lonnie?
takes one last swing at greatness,
You were a big shot golfer.
I still am a big shot golfer.
no one
Dad, I'm the Hawk now.
will stand in his way.
That's how it's done.
The Hawk, only on Netflix, July 16th.
We're back on the What Difference Does It Make podcast with our guest, Alison Ellwood, director of Boy George and Culture Club.
The beginnings are always the interesting part. It seemed like things were happening overnight. I was really shocked at they had their first show and there's already a Virgin publisher executive there who recognizes the music instantly and they're in a studio. It seemed like that all happened within the way it was told, really quick.
Well, it took a while considering that other bands were being signed very, very quickly. People didn't get them. When they got the Virgin guys there, I don't know if it's clear in the film, the way the story told, it's a little hard to understand that the band went out and told the limo guys, leave. So these guys couldn't go anywhere. And they were kind of stuck there. And then they were like, oh, we finally get it. And then they were signed. But even then, I was really Top of the Pops that sent it over the edge.
Which was the song that George said, oh, this isn't going to be a hit. This is going to send us, we're never going to make it, that the label wanted to release? Was it?
Didn't really want to hurt me. He didn't want to start with that. And he admits he was dead wrong with that. And the others all hated Karma Chameleon. And George was like, no, it's going to be a hit.
What was it about Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? Because that was I guess it seems obvious at the time, but when I first saw that, I get just his unique look and him singing that song. It felt like he was singing, it was about him directly. And I think that's why people immediately felt some connection to it. It's like, this is a guy who's hurt and he's just, just because this is the way I look. And I feel like that was just like, oh, so many teenagers just got it immediately. Was it just too much? Do you feel like that's just too much for a song?
I think George didn't want to do it because he thought it was too much of a ballad. He wanted something a bit more energetic. I mean, all those songs were written about his relationship with John. Virtually every one of them was a love song to John or about the frustration of that relationship.
Yeah.
You forget how young they were and, thinking about yourselves at that age and, how you felt in your relationships. And it was so interesting to see it happening.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they were kids.
So John you have a picture of him in a magazine of the sexiest musician, or I don't know what was this? What was he doing before this? Was he modeling at all? Or, a gorgeous man.
He was drumming. He was trying to make it in the scene in London, and he briefly drummed with The Clash, and Kate and Mike found that amazing footage where you see him drumming with The Clash. It's like, well, it didn't last long. I don't think it lasted long at all. But no, he was a drummer, but he was obviously super good looking. And someone had put his photograph in one of those magazines. And George knew of him on the scene. Yeah, I don't think he was modeling.
Speaking of the scene, you touched briefly on one of our favorite topics that we're really interested in. You mentioned the clubs, the Blitz Club and KROQ. Yeah. Did you spend time there? Did you get into it with him? Did he talk about more than what you have on camera? Did he talk about the scene?
Yeah, no, he talked quite a bit about it. But, there's only so much you can do in a film. But yeah, no, there was a lot of stuff going on and a lot of really interesting characters that were floating in and around that scene. And there were some very funny stories that just, didn't have a place in the film. But sure, those were very pivotal places for those guys.
We'll get it all on the Blu-ray, right? When that comes out. Well, one of the interesting characters, Malcolm McLaren, and he was in Bow Wow powwow for just a brief second?
Upstage Annabella, and then they kicked him out.
Did Malcolm just want two singers?
Malcolm just liked stirring the pot.
Yeah.
He was a troublemaker.
It sounds like it, and George recognized it.
Yeah, exactly.
Those photos are great. The photos of George and Annabella are really great.
They're amazing. I also love that that's a moment for Mikey's introduction to George. He goes, yeah, I heard you were in blah, blah, blah. They kicked you out. And George's like, bitchy. They're so funny. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall back in the day when they were just their banter. They were so funny.
Well, you did have that in the film, like some studio footage of just audio footage of like, okay, this is, it wasn't exactly Get Back. Like everyone's just kind of, hey, things.
No, they were full on fighting, but it was done in such a way that you could tell that was just how they dealt with one another. It's so funny, cursing at each other. And I love that moment in the film.
Were you always a fan?
Yeah, but even at the time, I don't know that I was as familiar with their full repertoire. I knew the big hits. And I also had never seen them in concert. And, it's amazing. That first, as you said, the Church of the Poison Mind, that show is just extraordinary. The energy in that room. I would have loved to have seen them in concert. It was a pleasant surprise to discover that, wow, they wrote a lot of other really great songs. I mean, one of my favorite songs is Mistake Number 3 from one of the later albums, but the music video they did for it was so insane that I think that people just never connected with that song. It's a beautiful song. All of the guys in the band say that their music videos, virtually every one of them was batshit nuts.
And was this all George, or who decided, we're going to be on the Mississippi River, or we're going to do this? Who was this, George, or who was?
I don't know if George was the Mississippi River specifically, but George was the one certainly pushing the envelope, as he says in the film, that everybody at one point thought he had them just enrolled in a gay circus.
Yeah.
I don't know who the riverboat idea was. They all say that was stupid. But you look at it now and it's so fun to see it. It's so nutty that it's fun.
It was fun back then. I remember, I mean, Culture Club clearly was one of those bands you had to see to kind of get. Although there was no mention of Smokey Robinson. Like the first time I heard Boy George, I immediately thought like old school 60s Smokey Robinson type voice with this new contemporary sound. That just clicked immediately with. Did he listen to like old school Motown? What was he into?
Oh, he listened to everything. Yeah. It's funny when they first were on the radio in Britain before Top of the Pops, obviously, people assumed they were a black band. They had no idea what they looked like at all. And then that's, I think, why Top of the Pops was like, whoa, who are these people and what is this? They listen to everything. They're all of them real music connoisseurs, actually. Lots of different styles and cultures, too.
Right. That was a great point that you put, you kind of mentioned that they all came from different walks of life. So the name Culture Club really fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that he acknowledged that now it would be considered cultural appropriation, doing what they did with the clothing.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff drives me crazy because it's cultural appreciation. All music is cultural appreciation. It all ebbs and flows and fuses, and that's what makes it beautiful. And that's, I think, why music's a universal language. It speaks to all of us because it touches different parts of us and different parts of our history and what we think of and the world in which we live in. I think it evokes so much. It drives me nuts when people say that.
I'm glad I feel like that's a Gen X thing, the way we feel about that. Like we loved all this music. We want to be a part of that. We love rap culture. We love R&B. We love rock. And, we want to dress like these people that we see. And I never thought of it as appropriation, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, all the rock band earlier, Stones, it's all blues-based stuff. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I know people have strong opinions about this one way or the other, but again, to me, it's appreciation, not appropriation.
No, I agree, because it doesn't feel offensive in any way.
People don't like it, don't listen to it,
Right.
Well, I remember that. Do you really want to hurt me? I was like, is Boy George Jewish? What is the connection there? I never got it. So George worked at a clothing store, and this is where he got a lot of his initial ideas, right? Do you remember the fashion designer? Who was the initial person who kind of helped?
I can't remember the names. Sorry. But honestly, he was doing that as a 6-7-year-old kid. He was finding costumes and making costumes. And so, again, it was so organic to who he is.
I wanted to ask about Marilyn, and this might have been intentional, how his descent into heroin addiction came about. I know it was attributed to his time with Marilyn.
I mean, it happened at the time that he was around Marilyn. Marilyn was floating around the scene. They were friends before all this too. They were genuinely friends. Look, they were all young. George wasn't doing drugs at all. That's what's so crazy. Is like he goes from being so straight-laced in that way to a heroin addiction seemingly overnight. But, he was making his own decisions. It's not like Marilyn forced him. I mean, I don't want the film to suggest that it was Marilyn's fault or that he fell under the sway. But, that was all going on in the scene. And there were a lot of people that got trapped up and stuff like that. And George was one of them. And yeah, Marilyn was around at the time. But I don't think it was a particularly good influence. But George put himself in that situation. And I think George would say that, too. I mean, I don't think George blames anyone but himself for what he did.
You portrayed it well, what addicts go through and the denial that they're in. And I was just curious because Marilyn is also one of those figures that makes you curious.
And I'm kind of curious, you had George and John, and then Mickey and Roy are just kind of like, well, let's just go along with what's going on. Were they really close, do you feel like? Just by default, they had to be close-knit.
Well, yeah, because George and John were off doing kind of their own thing. So Mikey and Roy, they became kind of their own comrades and troublemakers together. They were very nervous at first about the relationship because the band had just started and they were concerned that it could blow it up out of the gate. But once they got going and they realized it was part of what was happening, they were supportive of it. There were resentments about the attention that George got, but there was a bit of resentment from John as well. But it's also what often happens to lead singers. It just happens to be that he was also this very flamboyant lead singer, and everybody wanted to talk to him about that often. And he fought back with journalists, the press at the end, toward the end. He was very snippy. I mean, talk about being snippy with me. He was snippy with people that asked him questions.
Okay, so then how did Mikey and Roy not hear about Band-Aid, like this recording? Were they not invited to be there, or it just so happened that George and John, because they were together, they got the invitation and they just went solo or together?
Well, they claim that they tried to reach them and they were in the States and they couldn't reach them, which who knows? I think at that point things were so tense with everyone. And I would not say that it was an intentional diss of Mikey and Roy to not participate in that. When Live Aid happened, that was a totally different thing. I mean, they were all furious because George just absolutely couldn't do it and was finally disinvited after being invited multiple times, had blown it up so many times. He just said, forget it, you're not doing it. And I think that hurts them all. I think, who knows? Mikey and Roy have their opinions about that and their feelings. I think their feelings were hurt that they didn't come to that. I don't think that they thought it was malicious. It was probably just things out of control and oversight.
I seem to remember that George was in the States and he had to fly over and he came in at the last second to lay down his track.
Yeah. So I think that added to the burn of it. Like somehow you were able to get George.
There's a lot of mention in the film about Susie Sue's influence on George very early on.
Yeah, I mean, he points to her as one of his heroes, both in terms of music and in terms of the look, obviously, was something he was incorporating, appreciating.
So you did a documentary on the Go-Go's. Next year, Hall of Fame. Cyndi Lauper, Hall of Fame. Are we getting a Culture Club bump?
Let's hope so. I certainly hope so. They deserve it, no doubt.
Do you think it is these documentaries that just kind of reignites the flame and reminds people of who these bands are?
I think they're reminders. I mean, who knows? That whole thing is so whatever about that. It's just, but sure, I think they're reminders and it doesn't hurt to be reminded.
Are you a member? Can you vote in this?
No, I'm not.
But you got some influence. You got some scratch in this.
I try to help. Let's put it like that.
There you go.
Dave, you have someone you want to put in the suggestion box for the next documentary?
I mean, yeah, there's just so many. Yeah, so who is in the hopper deck? Do you have anybody that you like to do?
We are working on a Black Crowes documentary that I'm hopeful we will get across to green light soon.
Brothers are always great. You're gonna keep them separate as well, huh?
I've already interviewed them. I interviewed them separately and together. Mixing it up for you, Dave.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, speaking of some of your other documentaries, we're talking about the music. You've done some pretty varied, your topics have been varied. I mean, you've done Ken Kesey and you've done Enron. So they're different music and, Enron.
I mean, a lot of the films I work on, whether they're political or I've done some true crime stuff as well. It's like they're all sort of based in some sort of cultural root somewhere, and music's always a big part of that. And all the films I did with Alex Gibney, including Enron and Gonzo, and all very music-driven films, actually. And Ken Kesey, that was also a lot of music driven in that, obviously, with the Grateful Dead and that whole scene and the psychedelic scene. So I've always said, music's always sort of been a part of something that I use. And I mean, like American Jihad, obviously that didn't have contemporary music. That was all composed music. But I mean, as long as I'm learning and find the story interesting, and if there is a good story, that's what appeals to me. And the bands and the artists often have good stories because they're about human volatility. And in that respect, we can all relate to them. It's just a more heightened, usually, path that they're on. It's a faster path. So things are condensed. Things happen very quickly.
That seems to be the theme of your documentaries. It's like this volatility, and then like, okay, let's put these people in a room and see what explodes. And
makes for a good film. Yeah. I'm curious, what's your go-to music genre?
It's all over the map. Honestly, all over the map. I went through a big Bollywood phase recently where I just absolutely love Bollywood music. It just makes me feel happy, and I sing along and no idea what I'm singing. I literally am all over the place. I love all different forms. There's not a favorite that I have. It's nice to get out of the 80s sometimes.
I hear you. Have you gone to see Culture Club recently? Holly and I saw them at the Bowl a few years back. Did you want to include any current footage of them performing?
We thought about it. I mean, obviously, if John had agreed to perform with them, we absolutely would have filmed it, but that didn't happen. So, short of that, I didn't think we needed to.
There was a little bit of footage of where they are now, but not too much. You wanted it to end at their certain moment before the crying game and all this stuff, before that.
Andrew Tully, one of the producers, went and filmed with Mikey and Roy actually in Jamaica. And they were doing a more reggae version of a couple of the earlier songs. And we played around with maybe including it, but it was just, because it was just the two of them, we wanted it to really be the four of them have equal say. A lot of the issue that the other guys have is that they never got as much say or their ability to tell their side of the story as George did. This was their opportunity to have it be more of an even playing field.
But the title is still Boy George and Culture Club. Was there an issue with that?
I wanted it, honestly, just to be Culture Club, but Boy George's name is, has whatever. I understand why the financiers wanted it to be Boy George and Culture Club. I totally get it. But for the longest time it was, and I call it the Culture Club film. So
early on in the film, the other band members saying, we're a band.
I mean, but even in the film, we start with George as the first voice you hear for a while. So I get it. He's the front man and he's very colorful and attractive. And, and the other thing I want to say about him is what a gorgeous voice he has. It's stunning. I hope that's the other thing that people take away from this. It's just being reminded how stunning a voice he has.
His speaking voice also.
Yeah, lovely. Really lovely.
All right. So how can we see this movie? Where are we showing this thing?
Video on demand. Just speak it into your box and they'll give you options.
We have options. So it's currently pay-per-view. And there'll be physical media at all? Anything like that? We like physical.
We did a bunch of festivals. It went to a bunch of festivals, which was great, in different countries, which was terrific. We premiered at Tribeca last year, which was great. But now it's on video on demand, pay-per-view.
I'm just marveling at seeing them all now. They're so articulate and seem very genuine in the way they express themselves, and then the way they talked about the time and the relationships and everything. It was really nice to see them all expressing themselves the way they did.
Oh, it was great. Like I said, it was an opportunity for them to all have their say and have it be equally represented, which I think was important for them, including George,
So Culture Club.
What a delight to watch this movie and kind of relive that moment, this mania. It was literal mania, Culture Club mania. You brought it to life. It was really wonderful. And just to see the guys are all comfortable in their own skin now. They're all very cool. Oh, where were you filming these guys? It looked like back alleys somewhere, some sort. It wasn't glamorous at all.
No, it was. In George, we filmed in a warehouse in Brooklyn, and Mikey, Roy, and John, we filmed, it was literally a back alley in London. You go down this very kind of sketchy thing, and then there's this incredible warehouse. It was very cool, actually. The place where we interviewed George was a nightmare for sound, though. It was awful. The trucks were we had to stop so frequently, and every time we stopped, he would go, John. And then when we filmed with the other guys, anytime there was any interruption, they'd all go, George.
When you think of Culture Club, you think of bright colors and just fun, and then you put them in the back alleys of London. Was that was a choice?
Yeah, we wanted the footage, the archival footage, to be the thing that popped. We wanted this to feel very much now, like we're taking them out of the context of where they were, and this is them looking back. It doesn't distract from anything. We wanted the footage of the time to be the thing that pops with the color, because there was so much; it just would have blended into it otherwise.
Yeah, you're right. That was very effective, because I mean, I was laughing to myself when I saw where are you putting these guys? But then yeah, when you do show the footage and like the using that Culture Club font for whenever they're saying things, super effective. I loved it. So yeah, really nice touches, and great job, Alison. I really loved it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great to see you again.
Really nice to see you too. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. And thank you for the documentary. I thoroughly enjoyed it as well.
I hope people get to enjoy it, because it's a fun watch. It's a real crowd pleaser too. It was fun to see it with a big audience. That was great.
All right. Well, thank you, Alison. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to see you guys. Take care.
So, Holly, another episode with Alison Ellwood, and she seems to know what she's doing.
I feel like she's our ilk. I feel like all the documentaries she's made, not just the ones of our favorite artists, the Go-Go's and Cyndi Lauper, but these other ones. She's done one on the Eagles. She speaks to us, I think. And she does such a great job. I really, really enjoy the way she puts her documentaries together.
This documentary, which is streaming now, is just a thrill. You may think like, oh yeah, I remember Culture Club. They were good. I enjoyed all their songs. But you forget about the mania and the insanity that surrounded specifically Boy George. I think that's why they wanted to call it Boy George and Culture Club. Like our podcast, it's nice to go back and revisit and talk about this music. I think Alison Ellwood really figured out
how to get to our hearts.
That's exactly it. How to get to our hearts. It's streaming everywhere and really worth the revisit. And I think I might just be playing a number of Culture Club albums in the very near future.
Yeah, but also the footage is so fun to watch. Not just of Boy George on Culture Club, but some other artists that have had influences on them. Thumbs up from both of us.
We have thank yous. Who are we thanking today? Who brought Alison Ellwood into our studio today?
Thanks so much to Betsy Rudnick Fernand at Betsy Rudnick PR for hooking us up again with Alison.
Thank you, Betsy. And thank you, Holly. And thank you to the boys in Culture Club.
And thank you, Dave.
Thank you, social media. Or thank you, India. Have we thanked India yet?
Thank you for following us on social media at WDDIM Podcast, on YouTube at What Difference Does It Make Podcast, on Substack, and on TikTok at WDDIM Podcast.
We have a website as well, WDDIMpodcast.com, which stands for What Difference Does It Make? Podcast.com. Sign up for our newsletter. It goes out once a month. This might be your first time listening to us, so you can find out what has happened in the past month. Go on the website and you'll find out everything, all our past episodes. It's a good way to catch up. We have new episodes every Friday, so let's wrap up this one. Until next week, this is Dave.
This is Holly.
Check you later.
Over and out.